I'm Sarah Marzano. I'm a principal analyst at eMarketer, where I cover retail and commerce media. And we are here in Cannes at the Cannes Lion Festival of Creativity 2025.
My name is Jim Babb. I'm the CEO of Part & Sum. I'm coming to you live from Cannes 2025.
Hi everyone, I'm Carolina Salazar. I lead the advertising business at Volt, which is a DoorDash company, and we're here at Cannes 2025.
Hey, I'm Ryan Nelson, CMO at StackAdapt, and we're here live at Cannes Lions 2025. If I had to think about one word to describe Cannes Lions 2025, it'd be collaboration. It really is choose your own adventure. There's so much to see, so much to do, so much to accomplish, so many brands to talk to, so many stories to see.
If I were to sum up Cannes in one word or phrase, and a caveat that it's my first year here, I would describe it as an absolute fire hose of ideas and activations and all the latest that's happening in advertising.
If I had to sum up Cannes 2025 in a single word or phrase, to me it would be transformation. We're at a moment within our industry where what's next is currently being invented by every brand, partner, and vendor, but no one knows what everyone else is doing yet. And so we're at this moment where we're all learning about each other, we're all inventing it together, and so it's been pretty wild.
If I had to sum up Cannes in one word or phrase, it would be hot trends, hot weather, and amazing connections. I think it's been fantastic. Just getting to see everything that's going on and the innovations. It's really been fun. One session that stuck with me and was unforgettable was a session with our colleagues at DoorDash Coffee and Jessica, who talked about real-life applications of AI in advertising and how they are achieving amazing results for brands. And it was great seeing it live. You know, everyone's talking about it. It's been the year of AI for 3 years now, but it's always been kind of in the making. Now we're starting to see activations and real-life examples and the progress we've made. So that was really, really good.
So I was able to attend some sessions, which is great because typically very busy going to meetings. And I was surprised that the session that stood out to me the most wasn't one covering retail media or commerce media, but it was one from Microsoft covering some new AI-powered ads that they were launching, both within their Copilot interface, as well as brand agents that they're able to embed on the websites of brands or retailers. And the reason I liked it was that I think some of the conversations around the role of agentic AI in the consumer purchase journey can veer towards quite dystopian, right? Around what the impact to the shopping experience is going to be, right? Now you've got a bot that can conduct all of your decision making for you, and there's really no reason for being for a store or a website. I really bristle at that notion. And what Microsoft was able to bring to life was how retailers and brands can still tell creative stories in more conversational formats. And there's certainly a lot of work for retailers to do as they think through how to show up where consumers are shopping. But I think so much about discovery, right, and evaluating products requires that content that to make that decision and feel really confident about it. And I loved how Microsoft brought that to life. It left me feeling really excited about the future of retail within the world of agentic AI rather than worried about it.
So one of the sessions that stuck out to me was the panel of the global CMOs from McDonald's and Kimberly-Clark and Philips. They were talking about finding curiosity, also collaboration, and also having conviction in what you do. And I think as brand builders, as storytellers, we've got to have a lot of conviction. You're certainly seeing a lot of that out here at Cannes Lions.
The sessions that stuck with me and that I'm taking with me as I leave here would be, I saw this fantastic presentation at Pinterest that was actually hosted by one of my sister companies, Nicer Tuesdays, and they brought these amazing 3 different creators and creatives from around the world to show some of their work, mixing analog and digital technology. It reminded me what's just so important about this work. There's so much tech and so much media and so much conversations about business, but seeing individuals, what they're making, I kind of walked away with a new perspective. The trend that got way too much airtime, but also I don't think had the substantial depth that I was hoping to get out of it, is AI. I think it's this elephant in the room in terms of the every single platform and vendor and agency is talking about it, but finding the specific use cases, the specific examples that, like AI is going to take very small changes within our workflows to be impactful, and I want to see more of that.
So I think one of the trends that got the most airtime, obviously AI is being talked about everywhere, but I think it's being seen as a solve or a cure-all for everything. And I think we have all these different point solutions in AI. You'll see that here at Cannes Lions. There's so many different brands to see, so many different solutions to experience. We're also experiencing that with AI, where you log into a platform, you do that, you execute on that, then you move on to the next and to the next and to the next. I think there's an opportunity for us as marketers to come together, and what's that end-to-end journey to really combine performance marketing and brand marketing to go drive the outcomes we really want to drive.
So one trend that was hyper hyped was AI, as we discussed. It's been something that reminds me of the year of mobile a couple of years ago, that every year was the year of mobile. It never happened until like years later. Obviously, AI has been the talk of town, and everyone's talking about it, but we're at Cannes, we're at the Festival of Creativity, and I fail to see groundbreaking creative executions or stories or hype about it. And I think as an industry, we have work to do in this regard.
Yeah, so I think the trends that get the most airtime, and this is sort of typical, are the sexiest, right, topics, the most sort of far-flung, exciting ideas. But what doesn't get enough attention is some of the executional pieces and some of the organizational frameworks that need to be reworked, some of the investments that need to happen so that brands are ready for all the changes that are happening. And I think when I cover retail and commerce media, and there are a few topics that we've been covering for quite some time. We've seen retail media go from being that sort of hyped topic, right? Now we're entering a phase of maturity where we're actually seeing some executional learnings. And I get really excited when we spend time really diving into what the learnings are and what brands and retailers can take from those. Yeah, so one idea from Cannes I'd actually test for this quarter, and I'll sort of caveat that my role is a research analyst, right? So I come to conferences like this looking for ideas and specifically looking for emerging topics that aren't getting enough coverage. My background is in retail. I started my career as a retail buyer, and I'm really fascinated by the impact of retail media on the broader retail organization. I think when we end up in really media-focused spaces, those voices tend to be the loudest, and we tend to forget what the business of retail is really there to do, which is to move product off of shelves. And this is something I was sort of already planning on spending more time writing about, but being here just really reinforced that there's a need for in-depth research around how retailers are structuring their retail media organizations, how they're bringing cross-functional stakeholders on board. So I'm really excited about some of the research that I'll have coming out soon covering that.
One really great idea that I kind of saw at Cannes was how people are using LLMs and machine learning and ChatGPT to really speed up all the follow-ups. We come to this festival, we meet a lot of partners, a lot of clients, a lot of great ideas are born, but gone are the days of taking notes. Now you can use your voice, create a prompt in ChatGPT to create all the follow-ups just out of a little recording. So I'm super excited to put that in practice as I'm meeting clients in 33 markets. Like Volt is present in a lot of markets. We have a lot of meetings, and that was like really smart how it was done. So I'll be looking forward to implement it soon.
One idea from Cannes that I'm going to test next quarter is this idea of return on experience. So as we are bringing people together in physical places, and we have a moment to both have this huge human connection, how do we expand that into and extend the value of it into different touch points, from digital to physical, even things like direct mail. I'm really excited about taking the conversations that we have here and pushing them even further.
One of the ideas from Cannes that I would test next quarter is really doing an AI boot camp and bringing together people and teams and process and try to accelerate the adoption faster for our teams and our company. So one of the brands that really stood out to me here at Cannes was Spotify. And I think they did a really great job of being authentic. And obviously, they're an incredible brand. They have a fun brand with music and entertainment. And so they really brought that to life on the beach with bringing out artists, but also having a space for people to collaborate and be creative. And I think that was really authentic and really on brand for something that I think a lot of companies aspires to do and be.
One idea from Cannes that we are going to test very soon in our business is the extension of our audience and advertising product to retailers. So meaning that brands can buy our ads, but we can actually deploy them in third-party retail sites from our partners, enabling them to monetize their sites and us to increase our supply, which I think in retail media is the holy grail. So we're excited about that.
Something interesting that I've been noticing from the brands at Cannes is this idea of what Wark calls the multiplier effect. We're seeing an interesting tension between, historically we think of things as both brand and performance in media, but we're really seeing the return to brand as a very strong way to drive your full funnel performance and seeing that impact all the way down the funnel.
So campaigns at the festival that did a great job showing brands being used at a business engine. I think of the Albertsons activation where they brought one of their grocery stores to life in an exhibit that was meant to illustrate the way they'll be incorporating digital signage into their in-store retail media. It did a great job illustrating for brands what that consumer experience is going to be like and how it will be additive to the existing shopping journey and enable them to show up for customers to give them new ideas. At eMarketer, our goal is to provide need-to-have market research covering emerging trends within the digital landscape. So being at events like this enables us to connect with folks who are actually on the ground doing executions and learning firsthand. So we can gather information about the topics that are most top of mind, the burning questions that the folks who use our research have, and then use that to inform our research and content calendar.
So one of the reasons that StackAdapt is here is we're growing incredibly fast and we want to meet with so many different partners and friends and clients. And so many of them are here this week, and so we've had so many meetings and so many discussions. And I believe business is really a human to human. It's about the relationship. And so being able to build those relationships this week has been rewarding for us. I also, as a marketer, just love seeing the different activations and how different brands go and build and grow. And I think it's inspiring. And I think there's some things that we can be learning at StackAdapt as well, and we're going to be implementing that.
What makes this year very important for DoorDash and Wolt at Cannes is the fact that we just announced pretty incredible news with the acquisition of Symbiosis as our OFA platform, as well as we're crossing the 1 billion mark in 3 years as a retail media business, making us the fastest growing retail media network globally. It was just important to, ride that wave from the announcement last week and coming to Cannes to connect with brands, to show them our capabilities, what we are achieving as a global business present now in more than 30 countries. So it was great to have the opportunity to connect with people, to tell these amazing stories and to just find opportunities to collaborate with our clients and our partners.
For my organization, Part and Sum, as well as my sister companies in residence, one of the things that's so important about Cannes and basically our goal in coming here in the first place is to not only have collaborations with each other in person, but to get inspired from us, the industry at large, and really help envision what's next.
One great example of a partnership that has helped Wolt and DoorDash serve our clients better is StackAdapt. We met with the team here, discussed really great plans for product, but what differentiates this for me is also the ability to do a more 360 approach. Beyond just an amazing product and features, is how can we actually grow the business, do more of a 360 partnership around marketing and demand generation, and all these like amazing collaborations and synergies that we have as businesses. So that was really great.
One thing about being here at Cannes is the value of in-person experiences and bringing an industry with a variety of different perspectives together. I've been thinking a lot about this with a framework that we're calling return on experience, which is really thinking about the measurement of and extending the value of real-world experiences through different touch points and through different ways of measuring that value. So many times brands think of a in-person experience in only a media value way, so in just impressions or the number of attendees that come there. But there's so many different ways of extending that value, from the types of insights we can find from our customers that come there and attendees, to the PR value that can come out of it, and even the first-party data that can be measured throughout that experience.
One thing that I like to see about B2B marketing in the future at Cannes is perhaps more partners. Like, we obviously have the obvious players in the space activating, and our B2B marketing team found it extremely useful. It's a very important source of inspiration, but it's obviously very reduced. So it'd be great to have perhaps a day dedicated to the topic, or more activations that can be relevant for us. We're a B2B business and a B2C business, because we connect with 150,000 partners and help them grow their business. So getting inspiration in that regard is important. Unfortunately, quite limited at Cannes. So I'd love to see perhaps a day dedicated during the week to B2B, or more spaces dedicated to the topic where people can get inspiration.
All right, so now is the moment you've all been waiting for, our live Q&A. Hey, Ryan, thank you all so much for joining us. Ryan is here to dive into any burning questions you still have, so drop them in the Q&A panel on the top right corner of your screen, and we'll get to as many as we can today. So let's get started. Ryan, first question. Were there any notable shifts in how brands are using experiential marketing?
Hey, everybody. Yeah, I think it's a great question, because Cannes is an experience. And for those that have been able to go to it, you know what I mean. But for those that haven't been there, it really is sort of a choose your own adventure, where there's 10 or 15 different stages happening at once. There's celebrities talking on different stages, and it's almost like you can't you certainly can't see everything, but I think that everybody's competing on how to one up each other for some of these big brands, if really transparently. And so it's fascinating to see kind of what individuals do to build trust and build experiences with their audiences. So some are doing things like branding gelato, and like very small activations that kind of have a nice kind of surprise and delight moment, where they see your brand, they can engage with something there. It's really hot there, so it's maybe a creative idea. Others are doing very high-end VIP experiences that nobody knows about, and costing a lot of money in those things. So there's definitely a broad spectrum of things to do. At the end of the day, though, it's hot, it's a little bit noisy, there's a lot of things going on, and so people are kind of running around. What I think I found interesting was the connections between the set meetings, and what you can do to maybe build relationships or connections in the off times. And because everybody's got a bunch of meetings booked back to back to back, but everybody needs a break. And so is there opportunities to give somebody a little bit of a reprieve from the sun, or grab them a drink, etc. So I think you could see certainly different brands showing up in an authentic way as well. So I mentioned Spotify earlier as we recorded this, but everybody kind of takes a different angle at it. And so it was fascinating to see. And let's jump into some other questions, but I think I could probably add some more to that.
Such a good point. And I think it really echoes what we saw in the video. Really, Ken's is chaotic, but the brands that actually stood out, they were intentional and they knew exactly who they were trying to reach. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. Were there any emerging formats or media channels that unexpectedly stood out this year? Something that clients aren't asking about yet, but probably should be.
Yeah, I think there was some media everywhere. So when you see media everywhere, there's billboards, there's signage, there's cars everywhere with logos, there's hotels being taken over. So kind of how do you stand out, and more importantly, how do you be memorable? And I think it's important to think about it's a very senior group that attends. So you see fewer call to actions, fewer prompts to get somebody to take an action, and more so bold statements. And hopefully you're saying something that's resonating and is memorable to somebody as they pass by. Likely for a lot of the digital out of home, you're going to see that multiple times. And so how do you show up in places and stand out? And it's the festival of creativity. So everybody's trying to say something, that is true to their brand, but also is going to stand out. And I think advertising in many ways is about storytelling across different formats. And so finding the sweet spot at Cannes is definitely a challenge when there's so much competition. Yeah, and if ultimately it's all going to dictate, budget. And so I always try to be really scrappy. How do you get the most out of a dollar? How do you show up and do things that maybe somebody hasn't thought about doing? All those things go into play as you think about a strategy going into Cannes. So certainly, I think I saw some do that better than others. Trying to think of any that maybe are smaller brands, but made a bigger impact. There was, some that were doing sort of signage just around. There were some that were handing out, free gelato, free ice cream. There's those types of things too. So be true to who you are, and I'd recommend that as you think about how do you show up.
Yeah, well said. And I think it ties back so well with what Sarah was mentioning in the interviews earlier as well, about how storytelling is starting to show up across all the formats that we maybe didn't even expect to see, such as like audio or digital to home or even CTV. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. We have entered a phase where long-term planning is not in the core of companies. As a marketing agency owner, I can sense that companies are not thinking strategically, but more tactically. Does it make sense? And how can we take these uncertainties and go through this tough times? P.S. I've also saw a report from Nielsen that certifies that marketing budgets plummeted nowadays.
That's a great question. As you think about long-term, short-term, strategic, tactical, I think about the concept of zooming out to brand marketing and performance marketing. Oftentimes, brand marketing is long-term. You're building trust, you're building affinity with a brand. It's going to make it easier to drive performance in the short term if you have a focus on a long-term view. And so I've said this before, but it's often interesting that, as a CMO, if you only focus on brand marketing, you're probably going to get fired because you're not driving immediate initial results. But if you only focus on performance, the top of the funnel is going to dry up, especially in a B2B scenario, and you're likely going to have a much tougher slug to hit your targets long term. And so I definitely hear you on this question. You could see it a little bit. I think some of the larger agencies and holdcos pulled back a little bit. It can, I think, with some of the different chaos in the industry, a little bit of hiring and layoffs and other those things. Some of the bigger tech companies, I think, were full investments. So you didn't really see a slow down there, which was a little bit interesting. But I definitely feel you in terms of how do you prioritize hitting targets now while thinking about the long term. And I just encourage that you find that right mix. And sometimes it's important to kind of lean in more on the short term to make sure that you stay above water. But every moment, every opportunity you have to use AI or other technology to gain an edge, to think long term and be giving a vision for your company out there. This is what we need to be in 2 years, 3 years from now. And this is the path to go get there. This is the short term quarterly OKRs and goals that we're going to be achieving, but let's keep our eye on the ball long term for the vision. So that's what I'd recommend on that front.
Yeah, I think great recommendations all around. So let's move on to the next one. What are you most excited about when it comes to AI and automation in marketing?
Yeah, it's a good broad question. I'd say it's an incredible time to be alive. We are at the internet of the early 2000s, but it's getting even bigger and more exciting and even faster paced. And so there's so much disruption happening. As a marketer, I like the creative side, I like the analytical side, and I'm seeing the use cases in both of these. On the creative side, I definitely feel there's a little bit of a struggle in the industry for creators to have their jobs taken from them in a way that's the 0 to 1. How do you start and build something from scratch? How do you come up with that idea or that concept or campaign on your own? And I think there's a little bit of a dynamic there where how do we get to a place where you feel incredibly inspired and fulfilled in your work, but you're making a bigger impact and working faster. And I think I'm working through that. I think with those marketers and creatives that I'm talking to. So, it took, in many ways, many years ago, it took a month or 2 or 3 to build landing pages. Went down to, a week or 2, went down to 4 days, and now AI, you can build it in 30 seconds. It's really, really fascinating how that's happening. But that doesn't mean that landing page is better than what you could have created. Most likely it's not yet. On the audio side, we're on a webinar sort of podcast format today, but some of the AI automated podcast stuff is getting really good. Even 3 months ago, it felt robotic. Now it's actually in some formats hard to decipher. And so that just gives an example of how fast this is updating and adjusting. So excitement around creative, excitement around the analytical side of prompting into different formats and tools to get tables and competitive sets and to build outlines and taglines, and all those different use cases are being incredibly powerful. We're also using a lot in programmatic StackAdapt too, in terms of how do you we launched something yesterday called Ivy, which is our AI assistant to help you run ads faster, work in the platform faster, more seamlessly. So that's something to definitely check out here as well.
Wonderful. I think we have time for one last question. And Ryan, I'm very curious about this one. What do you think will be the hot topic / buzzword of Cannes 2026 outside of AI?
Yeah, good question. I think I'd say convergence, and there's this definitely. It felt so fragmented, and I'm going to go make it a mission of mine this next year to talk to Cannes and others where there's so much fragmentation of everybody doing different things. How do you go create a better experience together, and through partnerships, through ecosystem, and build with together? And so I'd recommend that. So I appreciate it. Thanks everybody though for joining. I really, really appreciate you joining today. We did the recording ahead of time because just the proximity of people in person there on site, and then produce that up. So I appreciate allowing us to do the format of kind of recorded with a live Q&A. I'd love to hear feedback on that as you send it to our team.
Wonderful. So that wraps up today's session. Thank you all so much for joining. We hope the insights from Cannes gave you something useful to bring back to your team. Big thanks to Ryan for answering all those questions, and for you to Tony for tuning in. So yeah, see you next time.
Thank you all. Have a great day.